legislature for passage then?
Absolutely. We anticipate they will all be introduced by the end of this month or the beginning of March. And I have not had a single meeting with a legislator where they've told me they were opposed to any of these bills. So we're feeling very encouraged, very positive that these will get many co-sponsors and will be passed fairly quickly.
Who's going to be carrying the other ones?
We haven't finalized all of them. I don't see, is Representative Brinkman here? Okay, I don't think he made it this morning. I know he will be carrying the Abortion-Inducing Drug Safety Act.
Who is that?
Tom Brinkman in the House. Sarah LaTourette will be carrying the Down syndrome abortion. Is she here? Oh, hi. Sorry, I didn't see you. So we're honored to have her carry our Down Syndrome Non-Discrimination Act. And what am I missing? I don't think we've nailed down sponsors for the other ones yet.
Do you anticipate including some of these things in the budget? Obviously, the funding issue.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's kind of why we've not nailed down sponsors for, the Ohio Pregnancy and Parenting Support Program. That may not need to be a standalone bill. It's an existing program. We're seeking increased funding, so we'll see kind of how that goes. We do have members who are interested in doing it, so certainly we'll take direction. And the Planned Parenthood funding as well will likely just go through the budget.
What about the other measures? Standalone votes? Or
I anticipate them being standalone votes. I can't speak for the speaker and what his intent is, or the Senate President.
I have a question on, I know a lot of pregnant women are advised to get amniocentesis kind of to detect for birth defects and that kind of thing. That's the procedure where a lot of people find out that their baby has Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. Do you foresee eventually wanting to get rid of that procedure, since it sounds like you oppose abortion based on genetic defects?
We're never opposed to people having as much information as they need to have about their baby. The screenings for those kinds of disabilities are questionable. And so the Boston Globe recently did sort of an expose on this. They've started doing screenings at 10.5 weeks gestation for any of the, trisomy 18, trisomy 21, any other sort of, fetal anomaly. The problem is that those are just screening tests, and a confirmatory diagnostic test needs to be done to really determine whether or not that condition exists. And there is evidence, and this was cited in that Boston Globe piece, that women are aborting just based on that screening test at 10.5 weeks. So we think there is a lot of misinformation out there. My hope is that in pressing for this Down Syndrome Non-Discrimination Act, we can really educate the public on those kinds of issues. Because when you're a pregnant woman and you go to your doctor, you just trust that your doctor knows what they're doing. And they give you this test that they've been sold by some essentially drug company. They're not regulated by the FDA. And their test might come back and say, well, you screened high for Down syndrome. What do you want to do? And typically you would do an amniocentesis or some other confirmatory test, but some women choose not to do that, and we think that that's a real tragedy for women and their children.
Could you explain how the trigger law would work? If the Supreme Court should strike down Roe versus Wade, but put more exceptions in there than what the trigger law provides, how would this law adjust what the Supreme Court does?
Well, I might be a little bit out of my wheelhouse here. Is Representative Cupp still here? I might lean on you in just a second here. Former Supreme Court Justice, doesn't get better than that. But the intent of the trigger clause is only to take effect when Roe is overturned. So if Roe is challenged, let's say, by our pain-capable abortion ban, that doesn't mean that Roe's been overturned. It means the Supreme Court's probably going to set a new standard that might be at the point a baby feels pain. And then maybe there'll be another case that pushes it back further and further. Again, the incremental approach that Ohio Right to Life and National Right to Life have taken. So we would have to get to the point where they actually just overturned Roe, and all of that was repealed, essentially. Is that accurate?
That's a good summary.
Thank you.
And you never know what the Supreme Court is going to do, of course, or what conditions. And so if it's something that creates exceptions, either that doesn't go into effect or the statute, the trigger is changed to coincide with what the Supreme Court has determined in the Constitution.
Why do you add the piece about unless it would save the mother's life?
It's the same reason that we struggle with the heartbeat bill. Ohio can't just pass an abortion ban and assume that abortion will be illegal. It will just be blocked by the courts. Any further questions? We are all available. I'm not legislators. I know you guys have committees and things to be at, but everyone else who has spoken will be available for questions following. We're going to stick around for a little while. So thank you all very much for coming.